gonna hold you. I'm really excited for GTA 6, but I'm like, I'm scrolling through, right? I'm trying to see maybe maybe some extra leaked information or anything. Like, do they have any other motherfucking trailers coming to us? Because it's supposed to come out 2025, Rockstar. We've been waiting over 10 years for this shit. Come on now. Come on, gang. What is this?
Not a lot of people actually know that this exists, but in the mid-2000s, there were actual plans for a Grand Theft Auto Zombies game. At the time of its early prototyping, this project was tentatively known as ZTA, likely standing for Zombie Theft Auto, though that definitely wasn't going to be the final release title. And instead of Rockstar Games developing this game, it would have been made by a different studio known as SmackDown Productions, located in France. This studio was founded by Laurent Benadiba, who's most famously known for being the technical director for LA Noire, another Rockstar title. However, this game would have still been done in collaboration directly with Rockstar Games. So it wasn't like Rockstar or Take-Two Interactive were completely out of the loop on this game's early prototyping. Now, while info about this game is still pretty limited, we do know a couple of things: that this game would have been developed for the PlayStation Portable and was likely in development after the releases of Liberty City Stories, Vice City Stories, and Chinatown Wars.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I'm like, what the fuck? What would this game even be on? Because it don't sound like no shit they would have on PlayStation 2 or 3. Zombie Theft Auto is a crazy title. Now that makes sense. It's a PSP title. This should have been tough. This would have been a nice 4 trilogy pack. See, Rockstar, I don't know why the fuck y'all niggas like be making shit, or companies be making shit and they be like, you know what, we're gonna cancel it. Because look, this would have been a 4-game bundle. You could have made that a deal. And you would have got some PC sales off of that bitch. Like, for real, like, if we're talking business-wise, they would have, like, damn, nigga. Blinding out my fucking retinas. But, yeah, they would have had, like, an opportunity to make, like, a 4-game bundle and shit. You could have added some DLC. You could have made a remake of 4 of these games and have it as a bundle. Like, bro.
Probably putting this somewhere in the later 2000s. According to Unseen64, ultimately negotiations ended up breaking down because SmackDown Productions and Rockstar were unable to agree on a suitable budget. While to this day no build of the game has been released, it does appear that there was some sort of prototype that was working and in development, as a couple of screenshots do exist showcasing different vehicles to present a feel for what the game would look like. It very much looks like a standard Grand Theft Auto game, and maybe not too much on the zombie side was actually developed just yet. However, there is an image of this forklift that's really cool. And
nigga, am I high? Hold on. Is that a zombie fucking driving? I had to go back because my mind is this is like had a like fucking 3 dots and shit, like in the anime. Like it just had, I had a little short moment for a second because I'm like, wait a minute, did I just see a fucking zombie in the car? And don't give me that bullshit like, oh no, Rose, the car is parked. Bitch, who parked that car and leave the lights on, the headlights on? This motherfucker's driving, but he undead. What kind of shit is that? It very much
looks like a standard Grand Theft Auto game, and maybe not too much on the zombie side was actually developed just yet. However, there is an image of this forklift that's really cool, and there is a scantily clad zombie woman that you can see in one screenshot as well. The zombie idea for Grand Theft Auto, though, definitely didn't end there. As many of us know, after the release of Red Dead Redemption back in 2010, later on,
I still want a remake of Undead Nightmare,
known as Undead Nightmare, which took the Red Dead Redemption world and
I want Undead Nightmare remake
full
for
zombie
PC
game experience to it. And it looks like that idea would have been brought
back
potentially is gonna be crazy for Grand Theft Auto 5 as a story DLC that never actually released. This story actually dropped back in 2019 from Eurogamer, and according to data leakers, there was information found in the DLC update Diamond Casino and Resort for GTA Online that actually revealed a ton of information about the canceled story expansion that would have come to GTA 5. Now, way back when GTA 5 initially released, Rockstar did insinuate that there would be more story DLC down the road, though in 2017, Rockstar changed their statement confirming there was no story DLC coming to GTA 5.
The thing is, though, I don't know. Me, in my personal opinion, I'm not trying to be a hater or anything. I hate GTA 5. GTA Online is the only thing bad about that game. Because literally, when GTA Online first came out, it was cool. But then after they started adding all of this bullshit online, diamond, casino resort, fucking yachts and shit, the game turned ass. And as soon as niggas got those flying bikes, it was definitely more dead than ever before. Because, my nigga, half of the time, you can't even enjoy the fucking online because you're too poor to even do anything. So, it's either you buy shark cards or you spend the most of the time just grinding. And you better hope you have, like, homies with you or some shit, my nigga, because grinding by yourself, nigga. Because after a while, niggas don't want to play GTA 5 no more. So you end up grinding by yourself. The experience is so ass, especially when you realize, damn, you just started a game, you literally can't afford shit. You can't afford a gun either. Like, all you can do is literally just walk around and do missions and occasionally get, like, ran over by some random 13-year-old kid, 10-year-old kid on the mic talking shit. Like,
The information revealed, though, in the
but
Diamond
now,
Casino and Resort.
but now it's even more crazy because now they have kill streaks and shit. So now you're just walking out of nowhere, you're like, damn, this is GTA Online. This is gonna be lit. And out of nowhere, a laser is gonna fly out of nowhere from the sky and hit your ass like a Gundam.
Or data mine suggests that at some point Rockstar was planning to do a single-player DLC by adding an entire new map expansion.
Like, I want that.
And
I
also
want single-player
to take
DLC.
the
If
current
they ever
existing map
go
of
back to
Los
GTA
Santos
5.
and redesign
I don't want to play no
many
more of that
parts
fucking
of it
online
to
bullshit.
fit into a zombie apocalypse theme. While the existing Los Santos would be completely redesigned to fit into this apocalypse theme and have a full story similar to what Undead Nightmare did with Red Dead, there would be some new locations as well, and one of those locations would have been the casino that was used in the GTA Online update. Though it's very likely that the casino would have had a very different use back then. But here's the thing, this cut episode involving the zombie apocalypse goes way
Hold on. I'm sorry. BB Alexis, thank you for the follow, by the way. I keep scaring the shit out of myself with the whole notification. I keep saying that shit, I'm going to change it, but I kind of forgot how to change notification noises, so. Yep. I might have to figure that shit out later. I'm not going to hold you.
into what was actually planned for this DLC project. It is speculated that you would either get to play as Michael DeSanta or Franklin Clinton from the main GTA 5 story as the protagonist, as there
This
would
shit
be
would've
plans
been
to use
gas,
Trevor
nigga.
in a different sort of project, though it seems like most clues are pointing to Franklin being the playable character for this zombie DLC, and apparently this DLC was far enough along in development where there were textures and designs made for things like a boarded up version of a gas station, infected warning graffiti and trailer signs in different places, and also graffiti designs depicting zombies and people wearing gas masks on billboards found in the Grand Sonora desert area. Now, things get really interesting here because it appears that the
They can
reasoning
still
there
release
would be
this
just
shit
one
too,
main
but they
character
won't.
featured in this
They already got their
episode
money.
was that the DLC
Ain't they about to
would have
release GTA
released as
6?
3
No
separate
point.
episodic parts that would
Abandon
have
ship.
had
It's over
each
with. We got the
character
money.
from the
We're
main
gone.
GTA 5 story involved in some sort of expanded or alternate timeline story. So if Franklin, for instance, was supposed to be the zombie character, this next DLC likely would have fallen to Michael, though from what we can tell, it could have been Michael and Franklin switched for either of these episodes. There's text strings suggesting there was a plan for an alien invasion episode as well, and while
That makes sense.
much less
Especially
is known
after that
about
one
this
scene where
project
Michael,
than the zombie
Michael-
project, for
Michael
example,
old ass
it's
got high as
suggested
fuck
that
with his
this
son
alien-themed
after he got laced
storyline would have
and
followed
started
a
flying in the air
character
and seeing aliens and shit.
unraveling and encountering aliens to some extent. This might have been one of the later projects worked on, as it doesn't seem to have as much detail that would later make its way into the big data mine. But the third story in the DLC pack would have been the quote-unquote Agent Trevor episode, where this
I remember this, actually. I actually remember this a long time ago when GTA 5 was still kind of popping. I heard allegedly, like, they were like, oh yeah, we have, like, a Trevor Agent DLC, Zombie DLC, and a whole tons of other shit. And then I think they had, like... No, the only reason why they did... I think the reason why they didn't release the Trevor DLC is because of the fact that they saw how much money it was being made, and then they realized, oh, we could just make this a multiplayer DLC for real, for real. And that's why we got all that secret agent bullshit when we was doing missions, and they gave us that extra heist mission where you're like, I think you steal the jet, or it was no, the Doomsday DLC. That's where I got it from. They got the Doomsday DLC, nigga, from the Trevor DLC plan. They could have really just, my nigga, it's crazy because if they released these, GTA 5 would have lasted way longer than that. Like, the online would have still been lit, and the game would have been lit, because if niggas want to play GTA 5 again, now you're gonna have all this extra content to play. Like, that'll give niggas some, like, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they already got like billions and billions and billions of dollars, so it's like, what's the point?
This content actually would end up getting used in GTA 5,
I'm sorry.
just not as the story that people
This
had
shit sound
thought
lit.
it originally
GTA
would
is like
have
one of my
been
favorite
in
games.
this 3-part DLC story pack that got canceled. Out of the entire data mine of the cut content, the
And I've been
Agent
funny as
Trevor
fuck.
episode was
Trevor
clearly
crazy
the
as
furthest
an agent.
one along in development. In GTA Online's 1.14 patch script, you can actually find mission triggers, mission lists with code names and coordinates and starting locations, and just a ton of tags referring to aspects of what this DLC _ Agent Trevor would have been. There were some iconic points like Trevor Train, Trevor Finale, CIA lines. It goes down to Russian Jet and Russian Finale. There's a ton of different tags in the scripts here, and nowadays other parts were mostly incorporated into GTA Online content, with a lot of these story missions being reworked into the big Doomsday Heist update back in 2017. But some of these codenames and files were discovered all the way back in 2014, 3 years before the Doomsday Heist would release, probably back when this was still story mode DLC for single player and not the online story that
Doomsday
it would turn
shit is
into.
ass,
Now,
too.
besides the 3-part story that would have featured likely Franklin, Michael, and Trevor, there was one more thing discovered later on in a game update for 1.13 and 1.14 alongside that Agent Trevor storyline, and that was also more talks about the Be Lucky Los Santos casino. And there also were some unused audio files located from Lester. It appears though that the storyline for this project that was discovered in the files back then was
Another
later
heist?
adapted into the Diamond Casino Heist update, which should be said at the very least, since 2 sections that were cut content that were supposed to be in that story DLC, which would have probably been about 20 to 30 hours, basing it off of what early interviews suggested for a story DLC, that just maybe there's a chance that things like the Alien Invasion episode and the zombie episode could potentially still come out in the future, as so much of the story DLC was reworked into GTA Online in one way or another, as GTA Online obviously became the focus for Rockstar for like a decade. But who knows? Nonetheless, it doesn't look like we'll ever see the original plans for the single player expansion that never came to be, but it still would be cool to see some of these things expanded upon, especially because
We won't.
already in the Grand Theft Auto 5 games themselves, there were some mysterious hints and lore scattered about, especially like the one on top of Mount Chiliad, making references to aliens and
They always
a
reference
jetpack,
that,
which
this little
was for
picture
the
from
Agent
Chiliad.
episode. Fans have speculated over what these could have meant for years, thinking that it was
I still
something
think it
coming
was
to
just
the
some
story or
troll-
something
just
that
r-
hasn't come
just
yet. There's
Rockstar
still hope for
trolling.
the future. This wouldn't be the first time that cut GTA content would be used in GTA Online. There were files originally found in GTA 5 for a cut heist known as the Sharmuda job, and way later on aspects of that cut content would make their way into GTA Online in the Cayo Perico heist, if I pronounced that correctly. What's funny is nowadays Grand Theft Auto Online is like one of the biggest projects that Rockstar has, but for a long time that wasn't always the
Cap.
case. However, the idea for an online Grand Theft Auto game came way before Grand Theft Auto 4's multiplayer or Grand Theft Auto Online with GTA 5 released. All the way back in the day, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, Grand Theft Auto Online Prime World was apparently in development, which would have brought the older style of top-down Grand Theft Auto games into an online setting for PC players, which would have allowed multiple players to play at the same time. Now,
Thank God. I'm not gonna hold you. I love GTA, but this has to be like the least favorite GTA I like. I'm not gonna hold you. I don't like this top-down shit. I don't like it. I like it to a certain degree. Like, for example, if you guys are hip to a fucking zombie game that came out recently, they just got a big nice new update. I might play that on stream later. Project Zomboid. I like that type of top down, where it's like Sims, where it's top down, but it's at an angle where it doesn't feel fucking awkward. Like, if I'm looking straight down, I can't tell what the fuck I'm looking at, but it's like, look at this shit. Like, I don't see the fun in this, and I hate the UI design. I just don't like it, bro.
Now, not too much is known about this, though.
And the controls on these kind of top-down games is terrible.
An article posted in PC
It's like I'm moving
Zone
in a tank.
back in December of
Literally.
1999, which talks about what GTA Online Crime World would look like. But the article also talks about how Rockstar will be taking Grand Theft Auto likely to the 3D format sometime in the future, which obviously they would when Grand Theft Auto 3 would release.
Hey,
It
best
seems
decision
like
of their
after
motherfucking
Grand
life.
Theft Auto
Oh
3
God.
was announced, though, nothing was ever brought up again about Grand Theft Auto Online Crime World. And of course, online multiplayer wouldn't be added to Grand Theft Auto until Grand Theft Auto 4. It is possible that Grand Theft Auto Online Crime World did see an early cancellation, as with the big and ambitious development of Grand Theft Auto 3, there were plans early on to have an online functionality for this game as well. Hidden in the game files are leftover text strings for things involving multiplayer, like text for searching for
Select map, multiplayer connection, find game name, not connected to the internet, not connected to the internet, networking player.
games, connecting to the internet, numbers of players.
Okay.
There's even some game types listed in there, like Team Deathmatch, Capture the Flag, something called Stash the Cash, Rat Race, and Domination. There even were unused multiplayer menu backgrounds that never were added into the game. A lot of this information nowadays is archived on the cutting room floor, which also states that
I kind of
according
remember
to
vividly
Rockstar,
seeing these.
this multiplayer mode for Grand Theft Auto
When I was
3's
like,
online.
I remember kind of vividly seeing those files though. I seen those files before. It was around that time where like, I think they put the game on PC, and when you're a kid, you like go in the files or some shit. Like, have you ever like had a game and you figure out you can go to the file location and look through the files and see like what's the fuck, like what's inside of the game every time? Like what is it? You would see random PNGs and random notepads of code that makes no sense. Like,
line was cut in favor
That
of
type shit
putting
like that.
more resources for Grand
I'm like,
Theft
what the hell
Auto
is this
Vice
PNG?
City, which would be the next Grand
Look like
Theft Auto
unfinished
game
art.
released relatively shortly after GTA 3. Still, it is interesting to see how Online was born off of an idea from Grand Theft Auto that was based around this original top-down perspective that the first two GTA games had. There was actually some more interesting projects that were from the top-down perspective that also never made their way out to release. There was a Grand Theft Auto port planned for the Sega Saturn that never got to see a release. Lead programmer Keith Hamilton actually talked a little bit about the Sega Saturn version of Grand Theft Auto, which would have been just a port of the PC version, though it would have possibly used a different engine, likely the engine from a different Sega Saturn game known as Clockwork Knight, which did have some 3D functionality
Clockwork
and
Knight.
enhanced graphics.
but holy shit, I never played Clockwork Knight though. I used to have family members that, and I guess one of the family members like had Clockwork Knight. I think so, or maybe it was like somebody's house. I don't remember. It's so far back. But damn, nigga, Sega Saturn, really? Damn.
Graphics, which may have meant that in
They
this
went
version of Grand Theft Auto, there could have been
back,
some
you know what I'm saying?
higher level of detail and quality to the design of the game. Not too much else is known about what happened to this project. We do know that a version of Grand Theft Auto was ported for the original PlayStation, and it is very well likely that Rockstar,
that makes more
after
sense.
seeing how
Like-
the Sega Saturn wasn't performing very well in North America, just chose to scrap the project altogether. Still, all these years later,
Because
there
nobody
were
was buying
various
that shit, gang. I'm not
screenshots
gonna hold you.
showcasing Grand Theft Auto Online for the Sega Saturn, which are some of the images that you saw while we were talking about this. And still, it's just interesting that this never came to fruition. Now, after the success of the PlayStation port of Grand Theft Auto, there were some plans to bring Grand Theft Auto, this time to the Nintendo 64, which would have
Damn,
been a
nigga.
direct port, though it would have had
Hey, hold
some
on. That actually would have been cool. I would have liked that. Because I played with one of those, my nigga. The N64 was lit. And it would have been kind of fire to like have a cartridge and it said like GTA on it. I always seen people make one, but it would be like a fake one, obviously, or like one of shit from Exe. Like you could just like a little knickknack. But I always thought that would be kind of a cool idea. Like, you know, a little cartridge N64 cartridge with GTA on it.
Enhancements to the graphical capabilities. It even had some coverage in gaming press, though once again, this project would never come to fruition and never saw a release. Next, when it comes to Grand Theft Auto, on the Game Boy Advance, there was a release of Grand Theft Auto, which is very interesting to look at the gameplay of that now. However, it seems like there were plans also to coincide with the release of Grand Theft Auto 3 to have another Grand Theft Auto game released on the Game Boy Advance to ride off the hype of GTA 3 called Grand Theft Auto 3, which of course though would have been for the Game Boy Advance and wouldn't have been 3D like what the main game was. Another instance of a game prototype that not too much is known about other than the fact that it would have been developed by Crawfish Interactive and then probably published by Destination Software Inc., but of course would have worked alongside Rockstar for the release of this title. Unfortunately, this never actually came to fruition and never released, and the next handheld GTA game with the top-down perspective would end up being Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars, which would release
Like this is what I mean. Chinatown. I was just thinking about it, but I couldn't find out I couldn't figure out the fucking. Oh wait, no, it showed in the previous screen. But my nigga, like I like this top-down, and this game was actually hard as fuck because like every time you had drugs, like you had to like make the drugs or like do business on this side of on the bottom screen, of course, like when you had the little pen or whatever. So like you had all your mechanics and like how your car worked. It was cool. And then on the top screen, this is when you had all the little action
on the DS later on. One of the
like
biggest
this was fire.
and
They
most
should have did that
mysterious
version of
titles,
top down.
though, that
Hell no.
Rockstar had announced that we never heard anything from again, not even an official cancellation, was a title known as Agent, which
I remember
used
hearing about
the
Agent.
Rage engine, which is the same engine that current Grand Theft Auto games are built in. Not too much is actually known about this game. What we do know is that it was going to be developed by Rockstar North and was originally planned to be a PlayStation 3 exclusive game. It was announced in 2009
That shit would
and
never
was
work.
called
I'm
a
not gonna hold
future
you.
AAA title that would have been published by Take-Two Interactive, just like the Grand Theft Auto games. Now, development of this game actually can be tracked likely all the way back to 2007 when there were talks about Rockstar working on developing a brand new franchise, but it wasn't until 2009 that we got a little bit of information, and all we do is that this game, quote-unquote called Agent, would have been set during the Cold War and would have players involved to some extent in the world of counterintelligence, espionage, and political assassinations. It might have been a little more serious in tone than a lot of the Grand Theft Auto
This sound like
titles,
some
but still a
Hitman
very
shit.
unique perspective that might have been placed in the mid to late 1970s for a specific time period. After the initial announcement, not much was ever brought up about the game again, though 2 years later in 2011, Take-Two confirmed that the game was still in the development phases. However, anytime the game was brought up in future years, the statement that would be used across the board from Rockstar representatives was, we have nothing to talk about or nothing's been announced about that title yet. When it was announced that the PlayStation 4 was coming on the horizon, a lot of fans suspected that Agent might have been moved to be an exclusive PS4 title, though once again, there was never an announcement of the game. Grand Theft Auto 5 would be announced and would release, and even following the release of Grand Theft Auto 5, there still was never anything brought up about this Agent game ever again. Later on, a developer from Rockstar Games would post some screenshots of areas that they designed for the Agent game on their ArtStation account and a logo for the game, but outside of that, that's all we ever saw from Agent, and to this day, we still don't know what happened to it. Some of you may remember that back during the PS2 days, Rockstar released a game known as The Warriors, which was a beat-em-up 3D
Bro, the Warriors is the shit. I was just talking to my brother some time ago about that shit. About the game The Warriors. Bro, you can beat the shit out of niggas in this game. This shit was lit. And I actually want to play it because I ain't gonna lie to you. I was thinking about trying to get a copy or somehow, some way, because I was watching Berleezy play it, and I'm not gonna hold you. I was enjoying, like, I was having a good ass time at the crib, laughing and shit. And I'm like, hold on, how do you get a clear working version of the Warriors? Because I was thinking about emulating it, but for some reason, the last time I tried to emulate it, bro, that shit was glitchy as hell.
game based on the movie of the same title. After the release of that game, it seemed like Rockstar Toronto was
robberies,
going to work on a follow-up game, but
special
this
moves
time
and
would
shit,
be a
like-
spiritual successor, not actually based on any specific movie, and Rockstar would create their own universe and IP, but based on a lot of the features, functionality, and gameplay from the Warriors game. This project, known as We Are the Mods, but the fan community refers to it still as the Warriors 2, never saw the light of day, but what we do know is that it was in development in 2006 as a PS2 project, but eventually Rockstar decided to move it to the Xbox 360. It would have
What?
featured mods and rockers as two conflicting British youth subcultures in the early to mid 1960s and early 1970s. But what's interesting
that
about
would've
this
been hard
is
as
the game
fuck.
was originally never supposed
been like
to
a
be
s-
announced
like
to
dead
begin
ass
with.
Warriors
It only was
2.
actually unveiled because of leaked assets in 2011 that revealed some projects that Rockstar had been working
Yo,
on
Rudy, what's
internally.
good, bro?
One of them being
Oh, I'm good,
what
I'm good.
people thought
Shit,
was
I'm
a
watching,
Warriors sequel. It seems like ultimately though
I don't
this
know, I
project
just randomly
ended
came
up
on my,
having to be canceled because Rockstar Toronto ended up being
my For You
reassigned
page?
to
Yeah,
help with
For You
development
page.
on Manhunt
I was gonna say
2,
my
which was a
my
bigger
FBI?
priority at the
Nah,
time for
I meant to say
Rockstar,
my
so
For You
this
page.
game ended up getting left behind.
About like canceled GTA games. Looking for a perfect streamer? I feel you. You just like me. I was just outside smoking too, and like looking on Twitch, trying to like watch a random streamer or something, or to watch some random content. I'd be going on YouTube or something. But then I was like, let me just come inside. It's cold as hell. I think I found one. Hey, I be trying.
And just a few assets.
Hey, thank you for the follow though, Rudy. Yeah, good looking.
Spec Ops was a game that Take-Two
I be trying to-
had published and saw some moderate success to. And after the release of Spec Ops Covert Assault and Spec Ops Airborne Commando, it seemed like Take-Two Interactive
Damn,
tasked
Spec
Rockstar Games
Ops?
at developing a
I
Spec
haven't
Ops
Spec
game
Ops in a
to
minute.
revitalize the series in a new direction. Other than just a press release announcing that Rockstar was working on a ton of different games and Spec Ops was one of the games in the long list, not too much else was really discussed
Is that
about
Persona?
Rockstar.
Oh,
Spec Ops
I know it
game,
was a
a
triple.
singer known as Josh Holm did
Yes,
confirm
he's
that
playing
he was
Persona
writing the
soundtrack in the
soundtrack for
background.
the game and talked a little bit about the music and said that
all
working
the games
with
made by
Rockstar on a
Rockstar.
game was
Yeah,
a
apparently
dream
there are like
come
a bunch of
true. And
games that
eventually
Rockstar
some
had
concept
planned,
art
but then
would
they
be
canceled it.
released of the game, but outside of that, nothing ever came to fruition. It seemed like Rockstar pivoted as this team that was working on this project ended up beginning development on the game Bully instead. Now, the Bully series in itself is really interesting when it comes to Rockstar's canceled games, because after the release of Bully, there was a ton of speculation from the fans for a very long time that Bully 2 had been in secret development, and it wasn't until only a few years ago where we finally got confirmation at the very least that at one point Rockstar did have plans for a Bully 2. Now,
Do you
these
take some
rumors
reactions?
started
Of
all
course,
the way
hell
back
yeah.
to just after
I was
the
actually
release
about to,
of the first Bully,
react
when
to-
the music
what was it,
scorer
Glorb?
Sean Lee
Because
claimed that he was
Glorb be
working on a
making
soundtrack
SpongeBob
for
parody, so I was
Bully
gonna
2,
react to
though
that and then see
Rockstar
what other
never
songs.
officially
Oh,
confirmed
yeah.
that there was
I was
a
about to
sequel
react
in
to,
development. These
the
rumors
Rio
would
Free.
continue to circle around
Rio Free
every
was, Rio the Young
Rockstar
OG came out.
game-related project
yeah, I be
for
taking
the
some
following
reactions.
years. Like in 2011, Dan Houser, who was talking about Max Payne 3, also talked about keeping the options open for a Bully sequel, but also talked about how the timing wasn't right after the release of Bully. Later on, Dan Houser would even say he had numerous ideas for another Bully game. Back in 2019, a YouTuber known as Swegta did a discussion talking about possibilities of a Bully 2 game that was in development around the time that Red Dead Redemption was in development, but never got off the ground, and more manpower needed to be resourced to Red Dead Redemption, so the prototype of whatever Bully 2 would have been kind of fell apart. And this ended up getting partially confirmed by another news outlet known as Video Game Chronicles, which added that a short section of Bully 2 was playable at some point and speculated the story would have taken place in the summertime, possibly in between school years. But nonetheless, Bully 2 ended up fizzling out and never saw its release. It's still, of course, possible Bully could see a return one day. Back in 2013, Rockstar renewed the
You a
trademark
level
for
you
Bully, and
completed?
then they renewed it again in 2021. But outside of the original game being available on newer consoles, it doesn't look like too much is planned for the future,
Wait,
so we'll
Geometry
just have to
Dash.
wait and
Ain't
find
that
out.
the
Then
one
there
with
was
the,
the canceled Rockstar game known as
where they be playing
Oni
music
2.
and it'd be the
Originally,
cubes?
Rockstar published Oni, developed by Bungie back in the early days of Bungie before they were fully committed to Halo, and after the release of the first Oni title, it seemed like the rights rolled back to Rockstar Games, and they assigned a new studio, Angel Studios, who they had recently acquired, to begin work on a follow-up game in the Oni franchise, which
This looks
potentially
hard.
would have used that same Rage engine that Grand Theft Auto is built off of, especially because Angel Studios were the first team to start establishing that engine. Once again, another canceled title where not too much is known about it, but it does seem like Oni 2 had two working titles, one called Death and Taxes, and the other game internally used known as Oni 2 Rebirth, which, like...
Hold on. Oni. Why did I remember that? Was it this one dude? What's his name? DX? What is it? DX fan? Yeah. Did he make a review about Oni? I think he made a DX for 1T. Okay, never mind. I'm tripping.
likely would have been the realer title. I don't know. Oni 2 Death and Taxes does have a main menu screen,
Rudy
so
Geometry
maybe that
Dash,
one was the real
save
title.
it.
Now, to an extent, it seems like Oni 2 actually was in further development than some
I
of the
got
other
you.
titles we've talked about in this video, but also it seems like so much of the process of getting this game off the ground was spent in just moving people around and projects around to get this game started. According to some sources, the movement and combat systems were considerably more complex than what the original Oni game would have had, and would have had grappling and parrying, something that wasn't in the original game. There'd also be some movement enhancements like ledge grabbing and AI that could disarm the player, and it seemed like a lot of the movement was being refined for the future.
She just broke the fuck out of that nigga neck.
That could disarm
She
the
gave
player.
that nigga
And it
fatality.
seemed like a lot of the movement was being refined
Damn. Did his ass the fuck dirty.
for the future release of the game. A lot of concept art for the game was developed. There were even some prototype designs made. And if you're wondering where this
Why
footage
did they
comes from,
release
in
this game? This game
2016,
look hard
the
as
development
fuck.
build of the game was leaked and archived on the YouTube preservation channel PTOP Online. As far as story is concerned,
And
it
the
didn't
gameplay
look
looked like it's
too
kinda
much
like, some
development or
classic
writing
Tomb
had
Raider.
even begun yet, and there was just a lot of placeholders as the core base version of the game was just being constructed. But this game would end up not ever seeing a release. Maybe Oni wasn't successful enough
some money.
financially, or perhaps they
God
had more hands on
damn.
deck for Grand Theft Auto 4, and this game would end up being scrapped alongside all the other games we've talked about in this video. And then, last but not least, there apparently was development on two major remasters over at Rockstar that seemingly have been canceled or at least delayed as of now. These are more recent titles, so it's hard
Oh yeah, I already knew. I already knew this was coming. I was thinking about it. I'm like, they definitely had an idea to make a remake of GTA 4 and Red Dead, because I'm like, y'all released a remake of GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, but y'all ain't gonna make one of 4? That could have been like like a 4 bundle package or something. And then with Red Dead, then they had like a remaster of Red Dead 2. If that was the case, y'all could have went with Red Dead 1 and remade it. That's crazy.
harder to definitively say that they're
They just,
canceled forever.
they
but
just
after
be like,
the release
we
of
made too
the
much money.
Grand Theft
Yeah,
Auto
look, like y'all could have threw that in there. They could have called it the Super Trilogy and then put GTA 4 in there, just shoved it in there. Like, I don't know.
remaster trilogy that they did, where they upscaled GTA 3, Vice
And this shit was ass, and I'm not gonna lie to you, because I remember first playing this. And I'm not gonna lie to you, golly, before they updated it, that shit was so unplayable. I'm like, I don't know why they even bothered making a remaster. Because I remember, I remember niggas was fucking salty when they was like, oh my god, guys, they're about to release GTA 6 or some news by GTA 6. These niggas released a remake. I played it on Netflix. Oh, that reminds me. Hold on, it's hot as fuck. I have a little tiny heater in there. But I'm like, what the fuck? I remember I was just the other day. I was just on Netflix watching homies. They can play games on Netflix now. How? Am I using a remote to play it? Like I need to check out the Netflix because how did they put it on Netflix on a mobile app? Oh, they talking about the GTA mobile.
And Andreas, there were plans for a Red Dead Redemption remaster and a Grand Theft Auto 4 remaster, which would have been really popular as both of these games were huge and incredibly successful back in their heyday. Now, it seems like the development on these may have been
like, what the hell am I looking at? He just sliding through break.
Paused, likely due to the backlash that the...
And it's crazy, I have the entire trilogy. And I'm thinking about damn, I was thinking about playing that actually too later, San Andreas. I wanted to play San Andreas, but it's crazy. I have 3 and I have Vice City and I haven't opened them bitches yet because I had a whole couple weeks where before I been jumping back into streaming, I bought a bunch of games and I didn't open them. I'm like, oh, I want it. I want it in my library. I'm about to play it, and then I completely forget about it.
GTA Remaster Trilogy had.
GTA 4 had the best stories of all the GTAs. I'm not gonna lie to you. GTA 4 had the best story.
With a lot of
GTA 5 was alright. San Andreas will be my close second for me.
It's also been suggested
but
that
GTA 4 is my favorite. And GTA 4 was the most realistic. I'm not gonna lie to you. That gunplay was so good. I even have it. I have it on PC. The fact you could just shoot a nigga knee and he would just fall over like these and then drop his gun, like I'm like, you can't do that no more. Because now if you shoot some nigga in the knees or a foot in GTA 5, he keeps shooting. Like, but they claim it's more realistic. I don't know.
Full on development.
Now in Red Dead, they did the gunplay right, which makes no sense. Because it's like, how the hell you went from GTA 4 and the gunplay was ass, but GTA 4, it was more realistic than GTA 5. But then if you jump to Red Dead 2, super realistic. Super realistic. Because I think I had a one moment I was playing Arthur and shoot a dude in the neck. He goes and then just hold his neck, then drops his gun, and then just falls over because he kept bleeding. And I'm like,
on Grand Theft Auto 6 right now,
cinema.
And perhaps those other projects.
I didn't even know I could do that.
Breaks paused a little bit. However, newer leaks and rumors from just a couple of months ago suggest that Red Dead Redemption and GTA 4 Remastered are now back on the table.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. The Serbian voice was crazy. They had a lot of wild ass jokes. It was definitely crazy, but the story was sick. I won't lie. My favorite was the DLC, Gay Tony. That was fire. Luis was my favorite. Because I'm like, damn, he should have been the character in GTA 5 instead of Franklin. I'm not going to lie. Because Luis is even more cooler than Franklin. No offense. Gay Tony is amazing. GTA 5 is more for fun. I agree. Because I'm not going to hold you. Half of that game was just for fun. I'm not going to lie. Or just trying new gimmicks. I feel like that was just them trying new gimmicks. Like, hey, instead of one guy, you're playing 3 guys now. Ain't that fun? And it's like, okay, I'm gonna try it. Maybe he will return in GTA 6. Probably. I'm not gonna lie to you. I won't hold it off. Because they said they're getting a huge cast together in GTA 6, allegedly.
So perhaps there was
I didn't leak anything, Rockstar. I
don't some of the systems in place for remastering these games to avoid having the same problems they had with the previous trilogy.
I still find it crazy they put a kid in jail for hacking.
We don't fully know if these projects are fully canceled just yet, or they're still in some level of active development.
Really, I know Rockstar has like a flash drive or something. They have it hidden somewhere. They just like, we went for GTA 6 to come out. We ain't working on nothing else.
Now we'd like to turn this around to you guys though. If you're watching this far in the video, which Rockstar game would you have liked to see actually release more so than any other game on this list? Let us